Hello again, Steve here with a few thoughts on the difference between what I'm going to call arbitrary dictates and law. Now, law in its origin, if you look it up, it means something like laid down or universal, right? So something is a law in the original sense of the word. It rather doesn't care what people think, like it's universal, right? That's why in science they use terms like law, such as gravitational law. Gravity doesn't care what people think about it or what the majority thinks about it or anything like that. It works. And things like natural law, which have been used in kind of a philosophical sense, are those things that are universal to all people. For example, the reason why it's wrong to kill somebody in a natural law way of looking at things, as I understand it, is because, well, practically universally, unless somebody is just mentally completely bonkers and is somehow so ill mentally that they are just not normal, right? They're not in control of their own faculties. So almost everybody doesn't want to be killed, right? The old saying, everybody wants to go to heaven, but nobody wants to go now. If it's that good, why not, eh? But if that's the case, if almost everybody wants it, then it's so close to law that we call it law. So therefore legal systems, they just pantomime so often these universal sensations that people want to live or don't want to be stolen from, right? I mean, even the thief, if he steals something and he's got it, he doesn't like somebody else to come and steal what he just stole, right? Because it's like a universal sense that what you've got some investment into, as you would say, you own, you want to keep it in some way. So those are universals. They're not things that people have to write up in statutes or regulations and so on. We just know at a very, very young age. I mean, try to take away a very young child's toy. It's almost like it's part of them, right? They start crying. And they haven't been taught this. It's just inherent. So it's rather natural then. It's like a law of naturals in how we interact with one another. So what is this so-called law then that's going around? Like I was talking to a guy the other day, and it was intriguing in a way because I was just monitoring my own reaction to it. He was of the mind that there was a discussion about safety, workplace safety, and so on. And he was of the mind that the solution was just legislation, right? He used the example of where he come from in Ontario, where there were farm workers or so on, or whatever, that weren't abiding by certain safety standards or something, that somebody had said they're supposed to abide by. So this ruling class of people come up with these regulations, these laws, right? That, for example, you're supposed to have a seatbelt on your tractor. And he seemed to be perfectly fine with that. And he was saying that if a farmer was working in his fields and some safety bureaucrat came around and wanted to inspect his tractors, the safety bureaucrat could just run right through the guy's cornfield, stop the tractor, inspect the tractor. If it didn't have proper seatbelts, could seize the tractor. And I thought to myself, I was asking him, like, do you think that's okay? And he said, well, it's the consequences of people not abiding by certain safety standards and so on. And I thought, well, what about the corn that the guy just ran across? I mean, $500-600 worth of corn flattened, right? Like, do you use violence? Because that's violence, right? It's destroying somebody's property. Do you use violence to impose your will on others? I was asking him these kinds of questions. But this is not a universal, right? This is not law at all. It's called law. These terms like color of law and so on. But the reason it's not law is it's not, I mean, if the farmer was to go driving across somebody else's field with a gun and telling him to stop and telling him how to behave and his tractor's got to be this way and that way and so on, the guy would go to jail for damaging his property, or he could sue him or something like that. But try doing that to the bureaucrat, right? Because the bureaucrat is under protection and is under immunity. of these laws. So law, if something is law, there's no such thing as immunity, right? You can't say that, this group of people, you can't say it in full conscience anyways. This group of people is virtuous to kill people, and for this group of people, it's evil to kill people. In the same way, you can't say that something is law, but one guy can go chasing across somebody's cornfields, flattening it down, and that's perfectly fine. The next guy who does it, now he's guilty of criminally, I don't know, well, certainly civilly responsible and financially responsible, owns the damage, right? And can be penalized for that. So one guy is perfectly fine. That's his job, actually. It's his responsibility. Not only is just driving across the corn virtuous, but it's virtuous because he has this great, noble task to impose safety regulations. If another guy did it because he had some safety regulations in his mind or something like that, he would be a criminal. So this is not law. It's arbitrary. And I just looked up what what arbitrary originally meant. It came from an old word, I think it was Latin, arbitrarius, from arbiter, which means judge or supreme ruler. So an arbitrary dictate is what this is. An arbitrary dictate is just from a ruling class. It's from a ruler or a judge. It's not from any universal concept. We don't need a ruler or a judge to tell us that we don't want to be killed, right? Like I say, the newborn baby almost, like the toddler, doesn't want to be transgressed upon. If you pinch their finger or something, they cry. They don't need a judge to teach them that, right? It's universal. It's universal because we have sensations and feelings and we're alive. But not having a seatbelt in a tractor that somebody can go driving across a field flattening down 6-foot-high corn stalks and that be a virtuous act versus somebody else doing it and it being a criminal act, that is the opposite of law. It's like almost everything that comes out of the sophist's mouth, sophistry basically just is words that are meant to mean something but they're the opposite. Lies, basically, let's call it what it is. The words out of the lying ruling class's mouths are almost always the opposite of what they're proposed to be. Law in that world is not law. Law is everybody has to follow it. Gravity doesn't give a rat's ass who you are. If you're some sort of a king or a pope or some high and noble individual, it's still going to drag your ass back down to earth whether you like it or not, right? But just making shit up on a piece of paper that says these guys got to follow them, these guys are exempt, is the opposite of law. So let's forget about this idea of law and just realize it's tyranny, it's arbitrary dictates, call it whatever we want. It's master-slave relationship. And at the end of it all, it's just violence, right? It's bully tactics and violence. If you can have some people who tell other people, this is the way you have to behave, or we're going to come with clubs, tasers, pepper spray, guns, and we'll damn well make sure unless you resist to the last moment, we'll shoot you, right? That's not law. That's just bullying. We'll call it schoolyard bullying. And it's actually interesting because the guy, when I was talking about this tractor, we were talking about this tractor thing, I asked him, is it okay to use violence to impose your will on somebody else? If they never ask and they drive across your field and smash down your corn stalks and they stop your tractor and they threaten to take it away and so on. I said, well, okay, what's going to happen if he tells him to get the fuck off his land? Oh, simple solution. Just call the cops. Oh, the cops. And what, do they show up with a case of donuts and let's talk it over and, just all sit down and have a picnic? No. Do they come with a gun? Yeah, they come with a gun. What do they come with the gun for? Oh, for their protection. I see. Well, you try that. You try that argument with a cop. I just have this pistol on my hip for my protection. Yeah, right. Rightio. No, that's what they say. You see, it's once again, it's always the opposite. It's not for their protection. That's what they'll say. It's to aggress against you. Because they know that if you have the same thing that they do, they'll just bring in more and shoot you. So if you protect yourself, as is in their regulations, well, it's all a show, right? They write things up. Oh yeah, you have the right to self-defense and everything. Ah. Remember, it's not law though. If you defend yourself against these thugs, they will shoot your motherfucking ass, big time, and right in the middle of the cornfield, right? So, that's all I've heard it said before, that the so-called laws, they're all just opinions with a gun, right? To take the guns away, it's like, fuck you. It's like some chump around the street saying, I want you to do this and I want you to do that. But no guns. The average individual has no gun, and the ruling classes have guns, and that's all it is. It's just shit people wrote on papers that said you got to do this and you got to do that, and people will say, oh yeah, but the majority said so. So what? How does that make it right? Right? My mom used to tell me, look, the majority tells you should jump off the bridge, and even if they're jumping off the bridge, does that mean you have to do it? There's free will involved, right? I mean, think about it. It's dictatorship. It's bullying dictatorship, because if there's 30 million people who say this is what we should do, and one person says, well, I never agreed to. It's like there was a Facebook post somebody put on Facebook a while back, which was a picture of a cartoon of a whole group of people having like a football party or something, watching TV, right? And they get all the pizza everywhere, right? And this guy, I don't know, he went out back of the house to take a piss or something, and he comes back in after the pizza delivery guy had delivered or whatever, or he came in late or something, so I forget what it was. And everybody's, oh, excellent, you're here. We need $5 for you for the pizza. And he says, well, $5, like, I didn't agree to pay $5, And it's all like, oh, it's a democracy, it's the party, and so on. It's just the same sort of thing. I mean, there's not a contract, outside of government, that is, but there's not a legal contract in the world that I know of in any sort of supposed court of law that would uphold an idea that two individuals, one saying this guy agreed, and no evidence whatsoever that there was a contract signed or anything like that. Imagine if you were to show up in a courtroom, right? And your husband was accusing you of doing whatever. And the judge asks, well, is there a marriage contract? Are you guys actually married? You live together or whatever? And there's no evidence whatsoever that there was ever a marriage, that anybody lived together or whatever. You'd say, what the fuck are you doing here? What are you doing here? There's no contract. There's no contract, right? But, except in this fantasy world called government, where, there's no need for a contract. There's a social contract, right? There's this fantasy god thing called a social contract that nobody has to agree to. It's just because you happen to be born. Now, you're it, right? And somebody performs some sort of a ritual, like filling out forms and stuff like that. It's exactly the same as old religions. It's just religion. That's all it is, in a way, too. If you think about it, going back to the Catholic Church, right? You take this small baby that's just days old, and you baptize it. You go through this little ritual and pouring little bits of water and making it cry and so on, tormenting it a little bit over a font. And then all of a sudden it becomes a Catholic baby, miraculously. And that baby was forever to be a Catholic. Apparently the Catholics used to do this to Jews, sometimes during the Middle Ages, if they could capture a baby of a Jew, do this little ritual thing, and now it's a Catholic baby. Now they could seize the baby, right? Because now the baby was a Catholic baby. And the baby's got nothing to do with it, right? Nothing to do with it. And it's still to this day, many religious people feel that way, that once this magical religious ceremony was done, you become something different. This is what's so messed up and warped about the way we human beings can think sometimes in our tribal delusions. It's absolutely amazing. But anyways, I just wanted to talk about the concept of arbitrary, because so-called law, as I see it, is just arbitrary. It's something that's come down from a ruler. And whether that ruler is a single dictator or a collective of people who agree with the dictator, which is, royalty or some sort of a piece of paper or a constitution or a president or a Bible or a book or something like that. Whatever it is, it doesn't matter. It's all just made up shit. It's all made up shit that is told to kids as real from the very beginning, that people sing hymns to, like national anthems and flag wave and patriotism and all that sort of stuff. It's all just made up shit. And if somebody dares to challenge it, then they say it's the law. But it's not the law. It's not law in its original sense. It's just arbitrary dictates, bully tactics to make sure that nobody steps out of line. Hey, it's all about control, right? It's all taxation. It's all farming, right? You don't want your cows getting out of the fence. You know, if you got a cow that's constantly getting out of the fence, you have to hobble it somehow. You cannot let it teach the others. I remember when we used to have chickens. If you get one chicken that starts eating eggs, you got to get rid of it. You got to kill it. You got to cull it. You got to somehow get rid of it. And it's the same thing with human beings in the livestock farms called countries. If people start to step on a line, there's big trouble, and they're labeled such and such terrorists and so on. And this is what's happening, but it's because people realize after a while this so-called law is not law. It's just arbitrary dictates. Real law, we know. We don't need ruling classes. We know because we don't want to be transgressed upon in our persons and properties and so on. And aside from that, it's just leave people alone, right? We know that. We're always taught, be kind to people, don't tell lies, don't kill people, don't slander, and so on. Unless it's God who does it. It's God being this fantasy called higher power. God, Father, government, whatever it is. And that's where arbitrary comes from. It's just, hey, do as I say, not as I do, right? Put that seatbelt on your tractor or else. But don't dare try to damage anybody else's property like I just did to yours. That is, do as I say, not as I do. That is completely arbitrary, not law, but just bully tactics and arbitrary dictates. How does this help to us to improve the quality of our lives? Well, that's probably a good question. Once again, a lot of these things, once we expose these contradictions, these ideas within our own minds, we become clearer, we can become more honest, we become people of greater integrity, greater honesty, greater respect for ourselves, greater respect for others too, because we can talk more plainly and truthfully to others no matter who they are. And if it's uncomfortable for them, if it's uncomfortable for ourselves, that's great, because we're growing, right? Anytime we make a change, there's a stress. Like if we start working out, at first it hurts a bit. We keep at it, we become stronger and stronger and stronger. And the same with ourselves. The more integrity we have, the more we put attention on that, the more we're going to stress ourselves, for sure. But the more truthful and honest and clear we'll get in our thinking, and just seeing things for what they are, and blowing them out of our ideas as they're either real or they're not, right? And to me, more and more as I see it, so-called law is not law. It's arbitrary dictate, and it doesn't have to be obeyed, right? Because if this guy says that you have to do that, the question is, says who? Did I agree, right? So it's not about agreement, it's just about force. So the only reason why we obey these things is because of the force behind them. Who was it said? Mao Zedong, I believe. Government is created through the barrel of a gun. There's no difference anywhere. It just varies by subtlety. Some are more egregious, some are more subtle, some get greater approval of the people, others don't. Or greater levels of fear, perhaps. But it's all the same. But fortunately, more and more people are waking up, and it's a joy to connect with those who are. And once we reach a critical mass, eventually we will evolve to a freer voluntary society. And you know what? There's evidence that we are going in that way, because it wasn't long ago when women weren't considered to be fully human, right? That would be completely ridiculous way of thinking today, but it wasn't long ago. It still is the case in the Islamic world, but in the Western world, that is not the case. And also slavery, which was ended by the Western world. We can't forget. So we got to uphold that side of the world as well. Is the advancement, the enlightenment aspect of the Western world. And slavery was put down after, forever. Overt slavery. It still goes on covertly. And this is what we're talking about through these mind manipulations and matrix manipulations that go on. Slavery still exists, but it's not as overt, at least. So we're getting it step by step. The next thing is for each one of us to wake up, continue to wake up, and realize that, get to ask the question, who owns me? Who's higher than me? In society, I mean, forget about the gods idea for now, but just within society, who owns me? Who has the greatest claim on me? Who has the greatest claim on you? Right? That's where your law, your dictates, your will is best to come from. It's from yourself, and mine best from me. When we become more from a position of integrity, respect, love for ourselves, we transpose that onto others. When we realize that what we want is similar to what others want, we won't transgress on others. I'm almost out of battery. I better turn it off now or I'm going to lose it. Great chatting again, though. Talk again soon. Bye for now.